on bounce. You know, it takes some very gifted people to care for the elderly or someone who is very ill. And our guest tonight knows the importance of making sure these folks are taking care of themselves and how they can sometimes be overlooked. I want to welcome Jennifer Szakaly to the show. She's the owner of Caregiving Corner. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm glad you came out on a Friday night. Now, you are here to talk about some New Year's resolutions that caregivers should make. We'll get to that. But first, tell us a little bit about Caregiving Corner.
I started Caregiving Corner 10 years ago. It's a geriatric care management firm, and we work with families who are caring for aging parents or other loved ones, help them navigate the long-term care system and understand what resources are available to them. It's always hard for caregivers to figure out, what do I do next? So we're there to help them.
Because I imagine this can be an overwhelming task when you are sort of launched into this world of trying to figure out how to care for your loved one.
Absolutely, and you've already got a full plate. Most caregivers have kids, marriages, careers. They're trying to juggle a lot, and so adding the caregiving piece is really stressful to them.
All right, so let's talk about these 4 New Year's resolutions that caregivers should make. Number one, carve out time in your schedule for you. And I would encourage caregivers to take a look at your calendar, and if you don't have anything in your calendar for you next week, start small. Start with 30 minutes. Go grab a cup of coffee by yourself, go have lunch with a friend, make a hair appointment, do something that's just about you. And then work on building that. That needs to be something that's part of your regular routine, and you need to schedule it like an appointment and keep it on the calendar. And it says keep a list of things that people can do for you.
Yes, absolutely. This is really important. A lot of caregivers tell us that people offer to help, and they are not really ever sure how to tell people what they can do to be helpful. So I encourage caregivers, if you're having a really tough day and you realize that something could have been done to make your life easier, jot that down. So the next time someone says, hey, what can I do to help? You can say to that church member, that friend, that neighbor, can you make me a meal that I can pop in the freezer, pull out on a bad day? So something like that that can make it easy for you down the road.
These are all great things to remember. Number 3, schedule all of your doctor's appointments, meaning the caregiver's doctor's appointments.
Exactly. This is key. Everyone's always looking at the care recipient and focused on what they need, particularly medically. Caregivers keep up with an amazing amount of information about the person that they care for, but they can easily let those appointments slip by. So we want to make sure that women are getting their mammograms on time, that they're not delaying their annual physicals. So a lot of doctors' offices are connected online. Pull out that tablet tonight, pull out the computer, schedule those appointments for yourself. Make sure they get on the books.
Yeah, because you're not going to be any good to the person you're caring for if you're not well.
Exactly.
And lastly, it says identify one thing that happened last year that you don't want to repeat this year.
Yes, this is essentially why we make New Year's resolutions, is to try to get rid of everything bad that happened the year before. So we want caregivers to think about what went wrong last year that you might be able to fix going forward. And just pick one thing. We're not asking for an overhaul. So maybe you felt like you were overcommitted last year. If that's the thing that you want to work on this year, jot that down and figure out what's your strategy. Maybe you need to give up leadership on a committee. Maybe you need to volunteer a little bit less, learn how to focus on yourself a little bit more, find different ways to kind of work around that problem so that it stays in 2014 and doesn't follow you to 2015.
Why is this list of resolutions so important?
Well, one of the things you mentioned, if the caregiver's not in good shape themselves, they're not going to be able to be a good caregiver. They tell us on the airplane, put your oxygen mask on first before you help the person sitting next to you. That always seemed backwards to me until I started working with families, and then I realized the importance of that. If you're not taking good care of yourself, you're going to not be in any good shape to take care of the person who's really depending on you.
All right. Well, thank you so much,
thank you,
Jennifer, for joining us tonight. We also hope that caregivers will look out for themselves as they care for our elderly community. We do want to tell you, for more information, if you didn't have the chance to jot all that down, look at the web extras section under the home tab of WBTV.com. That is where you're going to find everything that you need. Jennifer Szakaly, thank you. Just a wealth of information tonight.
Thank you.
Delano?